I think your love for diversity and inclusion is pretty apparent by your background picture for sure. All the hiring managers and all the HR leaders out there, this is an expert talking to you. Listen to this point and think about it, that whenever you think about 10 to 15 years in that industry, why not 8? Why not 7? Why only 15 years, right? And think once you think like that, you begin to change those deep-rooted beliefs that you may have.
And we go live.
Let's talk about some of the talent management trends that you have seen in A, agritech, and B, telco, because you spent more than a decade in telco industry as well. How should the leaders of these industries adapt to the big changes and the trends that are coming when it comes to talent management in these two industries?
Right. So I think very interesting. Healthcare, I've spent 7 years, and I think Sid, I made a huge change. I believe the change comes from the thought of diversity. And when you look at the colors behind me, you may like an orange, but you may not like a green. I think I found when I joined the healthcare industry, all the competitors were closed-minded, and when I joined them into hiring talent from within industry. And you could say that the pool of talent was so small that, you cannot contribute towards expanding that industry. So first is how do you manage the talent to be able to expand that pool? Now you suddenly start, if you are close with the mind of only getting people from the industry who can run the race from the day one, you are closed-minded. So I think I had to break that barrier. 3 ways I could do it. One, I first picked up people who were young people. I went to the campuses. So we went to these pharma campuses to get people from pharmaceutical colleges who are freshers, to get them trained with our products, right? Product training is just a matter of learning curve. And then having them mentors from the industry who could help them to know the tricks of the trade, right? And defined a clear learning curve of 2 to 3 years to be able to get them up to speed. I'm telling you very proudly, Sid, I've contributed to about 50% talent in my own organization, which now is contributing to the industry so largely because people have moved here and there, right? And so entire industry, looked at this piece as a very, very strong factor of getting people from outside. Second, I moved people from telecom. I was coming from telecom, so that was another low-hanging fruit. I did that. I started moving people from telecom, and nobody could think a telecom person could perform. And I was also surprised that after 3 years, they were actually 50-60% of our top talent who were people who had moved from outside industry. I think the whole knowledge, which is now limited to understanding people's ecology in terms of their understanding of industry, has to be moved ahead. And you should think how a person could think differently. And a person coming from telecom could think so differently. I remember a product manager that I hired from telecom who did so well in healthcare, because healthcare, there was hardly any digital or social media presence. In 2 years' time, he created so much of social media presence with people talking about knees and hips replacements on the social media. When people had to go and do their surgeries, they would consult social media handles to be able to go there. And complete diversity of thought in terms of a regular channel of patient awareness or going through social media was brought in by getting people from telecom industry, because telecom was much more exposed. And today when I talk of agriculture, and I did talk of drones, I did talk of consumer, I think your consumer presence itself is challenged by people who come from other industries, right? So I think your talent management starts from a very broad base of your own industry people, but I think you need to get people from freshers from outside colleges, start training them on technology. They should know what is your future, what is future of agriculture through technology, and through that they could have exposure into understanding the consumer. So I think I'm also using that space. I'm getting people from various agri colleges and management colleges and trying to build a very strong pool of talent which would start reaping benefits in next coming years.
Viekas, I want to take 10 seconds here so that the audience does not miss the good message that you have just shared, right? See, what Viekas is actually referring to is that of course, hire young talent, but make sure you have resources within the organization or methods to mentor them and make them ready for the future. They are keen to learn, they are open to learn. The second interesting point that Viekas made is, we see all those job adverts on LinkedIn and everywhere where we see 20 years of experience in this particular industry needed for this particular post. I think Viekas is making a very important point here. Don't just measure knowledge of an individual by the years of experience that the individual has. Also try to see that what diverse experience the individual has had and how can they contribute to the overall agenda that the business has.
If you look at my career journey, it spans into some of the very interesting moves where I moved from completely a sales operation profile to HR. I felt that I could make a lot of difference to people through people.